Well, hey, what's up, everybody? Leroy and the boys are going to be showing us the difference between India and Pakistan. So let's take a look at that. Nice quote.
India and Pakistan are two countries that probably have one of the biggest love-hate relationships in the world. In fact, if you think about their relationship and compare that to what people say about women, you'd say, you can't live with them, you can't live without them. Welcome back to another episode of FTD Facts. My name is Leroy Kenton. This is a channel where we talk about everything and everything, and this is a pretty exciting one. I'm going to be talking about Indians and Pakistans. What's the big difference here? Because like myself and many other people from the West, for the most part, we actually have no clues. So I did some digging just to find out what exactly makes Indians and Pakistanis different. So to begin, we got to do a little bit of a history lesson. So you ready for this? The Indian subcontinent used to be ruled by the British Empire for almost 200 years. But when World War II ended, the British were in no position to hold on to their stronghold over the Indian subcontinent. But the British didn't leave before partitioning the Indian subcontinent into two separate nations, India and Pakistan. On the date of August 14, 1947, Pakistan became an independent country. However, there was no correct way to divide the line with the Hindu majorities as well as the Muslim majorities. How do you divide that? There was a mixture of people of different faiths all over the Indian subcontinent. Because of this improper partitioning of the Indian subcontinent, there was mass-scale casualties on both sides. Violence broke out all over the country, and the partition left over 1 million dead, and almost 20 million people were displaced from their homes. It's been almost 70 years since this separation, and it goes without saying that the last 70 years haven't been the easiest for either countries. Both of them had to overcome hurdles and challenges, and had to really work hard to get global recognition in many different fields. So we have a little brief history lesson. If you want to find out more about the Indian and Pakistan partition, you got to check out our video, The Truth Behind the India-Pakistan Conflict. I have the link to that down below. I go in a lot of detail about it. But moving forward now, let's take a look at some of the cultural differences, the language differences, as well as there's some differences that exist only because the two places are now two separate countries. But they're not really major differences, it's just the fact that they're two different countries, that's why those differences exist. Now the population of India at the time of filming this is 1,342,552,725. Pakistan's population in comparison is 196,754,400 people. India is considered a secular nation, whereas Pakistan is considered a Muslim state. And just to give you a little bit of background about that, India was conceived as a secular democracy by National Congress leads such as Gandhi and Jawaharlal Nehru. It was meant to guarantee all the people in the South Asian subcontinent political and religious freedom. However, people like Muhammad Ali Jinnah, considered to be the father of Pakistan, as well as other Muslim Congress leaders, were the driving forces behind the formation of Pakistan, and so it became a Muslim state. And speaking of that, actually, one of the biggest differences between the two countries is religion. Although India is considered a secular nation, by majority, 80% of people identify as Hindu, while of course the majority of people in Pakistan identify as Muslim. It's also interesting to note that Pakistan has the second largest Muslim population in the whole world. Now, one thing to address, and I know the point may be a little controversial, but there's no specific single Pakistan culture separate from a specific Indian culture. It's like having a plate of food, you know, with your rice, chicken, and vegetables, and that plate of food is divided, and then now it's like, oh, we were once the same plate of food, but you have more chicken, so therefore the chicken is your culture. Wait, but that was part of my culture. Yeah, probably not the best analogy, but I think you get the point. Pakistan alone is 5 times smaller than India, and there's about 300 dialects and languages. The count for dialects and languages in India number over 1,500. But let's take a look more into the language differences. There's 2 official languages for communication in Pakistan, and those are Urdu and English. Now, there are several regional languages of Pakistan, and those are Sindhi, Punjabi, Baluchi, Pashto, Saraiki, Godri, and Hindko. But the national language of Pakistan is Urdu. When it comes to the languages in India, the two official languages for communication in India are English and Hindi. And yes, there are also regional languages, and those are Gujarati, Marathi, Tamil, Urdu as well, Sanskrit, Punjabi, and there's many more. And the national language in India is Hindi. The national animal of India is this guy, the Bengal tiger. The markhor is the national animal of Pakistan. And I had to look this up, and it's a species of goat. I've never heard of this before until this video. In terms of currency, Pakistan uses Pakistani rupees, India uses Indian rupees. Pretty self-explanatory. The most popular greeting in Pakistan is Assalamu alaikum. India, there are several like Namaste, Ram Ram, Jai Sri Ram, and Sat Shri Akal. Now let's talk about the difference in death. Pakistan, after the death of any Muslim, the body actually needs to be buried as quickly as possible from the time of death. This is according to Islamic law. To prepare the body for burial, it has to be washed and covered with kafan. And kafan, you can also call that a shroud or a cloth. Now in India, when a Hindu dies, Hindus don't necessarily bury their bodies. Instead, they're burnt. And after the burning of the bodies, the ashes are sprinkled in the Ganges River or any other sacred body of water. Now, finally, let's talk about the cuisine, the food, the good stuff. As you can tell, India is a big place, right? One of the biggest populations on the planet. And of course, it used to be bigger. It consisted of the areas that are now Pakistan, Bangladesh, Sri Lanka, Myanmar, formerly Burma. So the notion of Indian food is not entirely accurate to begin with. Also, the term Pakistani cuisine is a little bit vague too, because Pakistan didn't exist as a nation until 1947. But for the sake of them now being two different countries, we can make a little bit of a distinction here. Pakistani cuisine can be considered a subset of Indian cuisine, but even that subset is pretty diverse, in the sense that the spices and the ingredients in Indian and Pakistani food are pretty much the same, but the way the food is prepared can be quite different. For example, the kind of food that you would find being cooked in a South Indian home would be dal, rasam, sambar, etc. It's completely different from Pakistani kebabs. So in many Pakistani dishes, it's very meat heavy, but there's a difference between those meat heavy dishes and the vegetarian dishes in some parts of India. So yeah, again, describing something as Indian food and Pakistani food is a bit tricky because food isn't necessarily national, it's more regional. Don't think anyone can be like, no, this is Indian food, this is Pakistani food, two different things. It's just not possible. So there you guys go. These are some of the differences between the two countries, Pakistan and India. We see that the certain fundamental belief systems of each country sort of color the whole culture of each country. But one thing to remember is that there's no better nation, because better is subjective, it's not objective. So rather than nitpicking someone else's culture or religious beliefs, let's aim to really understand where they're coming from, because despite everything else, we're all the same but different. We're the exact same.
Dude. Oh, Leroy, that's so naive. I'm going to stop it there. That is so naive. Watching that as they were going back and forth between the cutscenes, I think the only way that you can say Pakistan is a beautiful country is if you get out away from the urban areas and it's a nature shot that you can't tell what it is. Salman Rushdie said, one of the things that strikes him when he would go from India to Pakistan is India is filled with life, it's filled with color, sounds, celebration, and then you get into Pakistan, and Pakistan is lacking those things. It's almost like a negative of it, an opposite. And it's quite true when you see cities in Pakistan. It looks war-torn. It looks backwards. It looks, medieval in some aspects of it. Middle Ages. It looks like the time has stopped in Pakistan. You look at India. It is changing. It is evolving. It is growing. I can tell you the difference between India and Pakistan. Just interacting with people on YouTube, is the Indians are typically filled with love and friendship and goodness and smiles, and the neighbors to the west are not. They're filled with just the opposite. I think India is a winner, Pakistan is a loser. I think when you talk about the aspects of if a nation's economy, what are you bringing to the table? What is Pakistan exports? You know, what could they possibly be exporting? They're kind of like a welfare nation. Hold on, let me pull up my note here. Pakistan economy, and on my computer here. It is kind of a beggar nation because of the American subsidies that it was receiving in return for use of military abilities, and it's really unfortunate because you know, they were supposed to be an ally, but they definitely are not an ally at all. I can't. I mean, you look at India, and you see. I mean, you see IT. You know, that comes to mind. You see travel. You see culture. You see all these different things. What do you see in Pakistan? You don't really see anything. You know, when India's on the news for a wide variety of ideas and issues, you know, good, bad, indifferent. I mean, it's constantly in the news with things. When Pakistan is in the news, what's the great Pakistan human interest story? It's not. I mean, it's just like, I mean, it's the difference between life and death, right? I mean, that's how different these two nations are. It's the difference between love and hate. In this idea of Pakistani culture, there really is no difference. It's a subset of Indian culture, unless you get into the religious aspect, and then I think that's where it splits off because of the Islamic slant to their culture. But I think Leroy's absolutely right when it comes to food. Even the movies are very similar in style. It's just, these guys, they put good videos, right? I enjoy their videos, but it's just like, what's the difference between heaven and hell? Who could say? I don't know. Let's not nitpick each other. Dude, the LOC is not nitpicking, all right? The LOC is not nitpicking. When the neighbors to the west cross the LOC, it's not nitpicking. It's just so naive. So naive. It kills me with their naivete, right? So, long live India, dude. Long live India. I'll catch you guys later. Peace and much love.
Thank you for watching our videos. Will you please subscribe to our channel, and will you please give this video a thumbs up? Thank you.